I welcome all of you to the video lecture series on computational fluid dynamics development application analysis. The present lecture is on physical law and discrete math-based finite volume method for CFD. The present topic corresponds to the chapter 8 of the companion book, Introduction to CFD, Development Application Analysis. For the present lecture series that is presented in a YouTube channel, CFD Made Easy, 6 different topics are presented for CFD. And the present topic is the topic, we are into the topic number 5, physical law and discrete math based finite volume method for CFD. I started this lecture series with topic 1 on introduction to CFD development application analysis. And then I went into essentials of fluid dynamics and heat transfer, fluid dynamics, heat transfer, and numerical methods for CFD. So these two topics corresponds to introduction and essentials for learning CFD. So these two topics build a foundation for this course. And then we went from introduction and essentials to the next two topics, which corresponds to computational heat transfer. We started computational heat transfer with pure conduction, and then we went into prescribed flow-based convective heat transfer. So in this case, we have not considered the fluid flow. The fluid flow was prescribed to us. So here we have used only the energy conservation law. Now we are moving from computational heat transfer to a computational fluid dynamics and heat transfer. So now the fluid dynamics part is being introduced. So along with the energy equation, now the mass and momentum conservation equation, conservation laws will be used. In the topic 2 on essentials of fluid dynamics and heat transfers for CFD, I had presented a transport mechanism where it was mentioned that there are two transport mechanisms: the random motion of molecules based diffusion transport and the bulk motion of the molecule based advection transport. We started with conduction, which corresponds to the diffusion transport, and then we considered the bulk motion based advection along with the conduction. So the combination of conduction and advection we considered as heat convection. So, and as you know that in any product development, the product development is component by component. So this computational heat conduction corresponds to the first component of our product development corresponding to a CFD software. So this computational heat conduction, you can say it's a diffusion component, and this computational heat convection is a combination of diffusion and advection transport. So we can, whatever computer program that you have developed for computational heat conduction, so this was our first component. When we say component in a software, the component in a program corresponds to a subroutine. So you can convert the computer program which you have developed for the previous topic on computational heat conduction, which you have already tested, as a subroutine, and this random motion based heat conduction in topic 3. You can generalize this component, because now this component or this subroutine is not only used to calculate the total heat gained by conduction, but when we go to combine fluid dynamics and heat transfer, you can convert this into a general subroutine, where this can also be used to as a diffusion subroutine, where you can also calculate the viscous forces in the x direction for x momentum equation and viscous forces in the y momentum equation in the y direction. So this way you can generalize this computational heat conduction to a diffusion transport based subroutine, and the combination of the computational heat advection, which was introduced in this topic 4, which is used to calculate the enthalpy flow rate, that can be generalized, and as it can be, as you have a similar expression to calculate the x momentum flow rate and the y momentum flow rate. So when we are moving from computational heat transfer to a computational fluid dynamics, what we will do is that with the diffusion transport wave conduction, we will convert into a subroutine. So whatever has been discussed for computational heat conduction can be easily extended for the viscous forces. Whatever has been discussed for the enthalpy flow rate in computational heat advection can be extended to for the computation of the x momentum flow rate and the y momentum flow rate. So in this topic on physical law based finite volume method, where we'll do the algebraic formulation, we'll start with introduction of general variables, because now we will convert this conduction into a diffusion transport based subroutine, and this convection will be a combination of advection and diffusion transport. So we in this topic we'll start with general variables, and then we'll go ahead with the algebraic formulation. As I highlighted in the beginning of this lecture series, that the novelty of the CFD that is presented in the companion book is a more of physics and less of math based derivation of the governing equation in CFD, which corresponds to an algebraic formulation. So the finite volume method, the physical law and discrete math based finite volume method is presented in the topic 5, and solution methodology for CFD is presented in topic 6. Note that in topic 3, both finite volume method and solution methodology was presented together. Similarly, in topic 4 also, the finite volume method and solution methodology was presented together. Whereas in when we go from computational heat transfer to computational fluid dynamics and heat transfer, note that the finite volume method and solution methodology are presented separately. So let us get started with the present topic on physical law and discrete math based finite volume method that leads us to algebraic formulation or governing equations for CFD. As I mentioned earlier, whatever has been covered for conduction and convection, now we will, for this topic, we will use certain generalized variable, and we will use whatever approximation that has been used earlier for the more generic case, because the momentum transport is analogous to the heat transport. So because in this transport process, there are two drivers, the random motion of the molecule and the bulk motion. So now we are using a generalized representation of the conduction as diffusion and the advection and the enthalpy transport as an advection. So let us start with the generalized variable for the transport process for this topic. Then we'll go and I'll present the momentum and energy conservation law along with the mass conservation law for a control volume. In the previous topic on computational heat transfer, we were only using the energy conservation law. Now here, mass and momentum conservation law will also be presented. Thereafter, the discrete math based linear algebraic formulations will be presented. And finally, using the approximation, the approximated linear algebraic approximate formulation will be presented. So we'll get started with generalizing the variables that have been used in computational heat conduction and computational heat convection. So this corresponds to the table 8.1 of the companion book, where now the enthalpy flow rate, which was presented in the previous topic 4, it is generalized as an advection flow rate at the various phases of the control volume. The enthalpy flow rate I had shown in the previous topic, that it is expressed in terms of mass flow rate into specific heat into temperature. This is analogous because the mass flow rate is a driver When you multiply it by specific heat and temperature, it gives you enthalpy flow rate. When you multiply it by the velocity in the x direction, it gives you the x momentum flow rate. And when you multiply this with the v velocity, it gives you y momentum flow rate. So in this table, we are the generalization of enthalpy flow rate into an advection flow rate is presented. Now in this topic, when we talk about the x momentum, the advection in the x momentum, it will correspond to x momentum flow rate. For y momentum conservation, advection will correspond to the y momentum flow rate. And the conduction that was presented as capital Q for this topic, it will be presented as a diffusion component D. So in advection, we have used H for enthalpy flow rate instead of H for this topic, which involves along with energy equation, mass, momentum conservation equation. Instead of H, we will use the symbol A for advection, and if it's a subscript T, it corresponds to the enthalpy flow rate. The same advection, so with the change in the subscript, when this advection flow rate, there is a general variable which is used as phi. So A phi is the advection flow rate. When this phi is T, it becomes enthalpy flow rate. When this phi is U, it becomes x momentum flow rate. When this phi is V, it becomes y momentum flow rate. Similarly, for the generalization, instead of Q, we are writing a variable D, where if this phi is T, it becomes conduction heat transfer rate. If it is U, it becomes viscous force in the x direction. If it is V, it becomes viscous force in the y direction. So now, whatever has been discussed in the topic 3 on computational heat conduction and topic 4 on computational heat conduction, where I had introduced the advection transport, these are present in this topic. It is expressed as a general variable, and it is used 3 times in a 2D problem. First, to calculate the enthalpy flow rate, x momentum flow rate, and y momentum flow rate. So you note that the expressions for this enthalpy, x momentum flow rate, y momentum flow rate is very similar. Even when you talk of the expression for conduction fluxes and the viscous stresses, for incompressible flow, like conduction fluxes is expressed as mu normal gradient of temperature. The viscous stresses are expressed as heat flux is expressed as minus K normal gradient of temperature. Viscous stresses are expressed as mu normal gradient of temperature. So the expressions for the viscous flux and the viscous stresses and the conduction flux are very similar, and the expression for the enthalpy flux, x momentum flux, and y momentum flux, which is shown here. So instead of H vector, which was introduced in the previous topic, and Q vector, which is a conduction flux, which was presented in the topic 3, we will use capital D is the total diffusion. When we use small d, which is a flux term, it's the vector quantity. So that's why it is shown here as d vector. This d vector, when it has a subscript of T, it becomes conduction flux. If it is subscript of U, it becomes viscous stress in the x direction. If it has a subscript of V, it becomes viscous stress in the y direction. Note that sigma is a second order tensor, and when we apply a vector law, we always apply component by component. So when we apply it for the x momentum equation, we take the dot product of the second order tensor in the with I unit vector to calculate viscous stress in the x direction, and with J to calculate the viscous stress in the y direction. Here, the general advection flux is represented by a symbol small a vector phi, where if this phi is T, it corresponds to enthalpy flux. If it is U, it corresponds to x momentum flux. If it is V, it corresponds to y momentum flux. This M vector, U vector, it's again a second order tensor, it's a momentum flux. And here again, when you take a dot product with I, it gives you x momentum flux, and the dot product with J will give you the y momentum flux. This x momentum flux and the viscous stress in x direction is used for x momentum conservation, and y momentum flux and viscous stress in the y direction is used for y momentum conservation. The net advection is represented here this is the advection flow rate. Now the net advection for a control volume, which is denoted by A5P, and the net diffusion for a control volume is denoted here by capital D phi P, where if this phi is T, it gives net heat gain by net conduction heat transfer rate entering a control volume, which is the total heat gain by conduction. And if it is this phi is U, it gives you the net viscous force in the x direction. If this phi is V, it gives you the net viscous force in the y direction. Similarly, this AT, if this phi is T, it gives you net enthalpy flow rate leaving across the surface of the control volume. If this phi is, this is obtained by taking the product of the fluxes with the surface area and summing it up. So when you calculate net outflux, then you get this net enthalpy flow rate leaving across the surface of the control volume. And for x momentum and y momentum, if you calculate the net outflux considering the momentum flow rate, then you obtain net x momentum flow rate leaving a control volume, which is represented by this symbol. And AVP represents net y momentum flow rate leaving a control volume. So the volumetric term is wherever the general expression for a volumetric term is shown here by this curved V with an over bar. Where any variable which has an over bar represent per unit volume term. So there is a subscript phi. If this phi is T, so this volumetric term with an over bar, when it has a subscript phi is equals to T, it gives volumetric enthalpy, which is enthalpy per unit volume, which is given by H bar, and this is equal to rho CPT. And if this phi is U, then it becomes volumetric x momentum, that is x momentum per unit volume, which is given by mass per unit volume, m bar, which is a rho. And if this phi is V, then it gives you the volumetric y momentum. And the source term for energy equation, it corresponds to the total heat generation. And for x momentum and y momentum, the source term in CFD is presented by the pressure force. So this source term S, if it is phi is T, then it becomes total heat generation. If it is U, it corresponds to net pressure force in the x direction. If this phi is V, it corresponds to the net pressure force in the y direction. So note that this is the generalized representation of the various variables that you encountered. I had mentioned that there are two types of variables you encounter: the flux term and the volumetric term. So before I start this topic, this slide presents in detail in a tabular form the various symbols that are used for the generalization, and you need to spend some time in getting comfortable with what the various symbols are representing. When there is a capital letter for the flux term, it represents the total quantity. When there is a small letter along with a vector sign with an arrow, this represents the flux terms. And the total advection is presented here by with a subscript capital P, and V over bar volumetric term, S is a source term. After presenting the generalized variable, let us go into the conservation law for a control volume. We'll start with the x momentum conservation law, and then we'll go to the y momentum conservation law for a control volume, energy conservation law, and the mass conservation law. Note that in previous topic on computational heat conduction, we have considered only the energy conservation law. For the present topic, we'll be considering the momentum conservation law and the mass conservation law. Momentum conservation law is a vector law, and energy conservation law and mass conservation law are the scalar law. So here the CFD is presented for a 2D Cartesian coordinate system. So the momentum conservation law is presented separately as x momentum conservation law and y momentum conservation law. In the previous topic, I had mentioned that the finite physical law based finite volume method that is being presented here in this lecture series uses energy conservation law in a discrete form of the energy conservation law, which corresponds to over a time interval delta t. In the previous topic on computational heat conduction and computational heat convection, I had presented energy conservation law in two different forms. One form is which is applicable at each and every time instant, which you might have studied in your undergraduate course on computational heat transfer. There is another form of the energy conservation law which is presented in a course on thermodynamics, which talks about the amount of heat transfer. So in a thermodynamics as well as heat transfer course, energy conservation law is common, but the statement that is used in thermodynamics and heat transfer is different. In the thermodynamics, you use a statement which involves amount of heat, and in a heat transfer course, we use the rate of heat transfer. So, if you consider the various conservation law statements which are applicable for each and every time instant, which is called as instantaneous, and then there is another form which I have introduced, which is over a time interval. So if you consider the conservation law at each and every time instant and the symbols that I have introduced in the previous slide, this for the X momentum conservation law, this AU is representing the net X momentum flow rate entering into the control volume. This is net X momentum flow rate leaving across the surface of the control volume. This is the viscous force acting in the positive X direction. This is the viscous force acting in the negative X direction. SU plus is this the net pressure force acting in the positive X direction. This is the net pressure force acting in the negative X direction. For the Y momentum, this is the Y momentum flow rate entering into the control volume. This is the Y momentum flow rate leaving the surface of the control volume. These are the viscous force in the positive Y direction. These are the pressure force in the positive Y direction. Similarly, these are in the negative Y direction. This is the enthalpy flow rate entering into the control volume. This is the conduction heat transfer rate entering into the control volume. And similarly, these are the enthalpy flow rate and conduction heat transfer rate leaving the surface of the control volume. This term represents rate of change of X momentum. This is the rate of change of Y momentum. This is the rate of change of enthalpy. Now, when we use convert this into a statement which corresponds to over a time interval, because I had mentioned that when you do an experiment, you do not have any measuring measuring instrument which gives you data each and every time. You always get a data or results over a time interval. So whether it's an experiment or in computation, we always get data which are discrete. So we should use a form of the conservation law which is discrete in nature. So so here the conservation law is used within a statement which are applicable over a time interval. However, the symbols, the variables that are used here in thermodynamics, it's not only the conservation law, energy conservation law in thermodynamics is based on the amount of heat, but even in thermodynamics, the variable is represented in terms of amount of heat. But here, although the conservation law is similar to what is used in thermodynamics, but note that the symbols which are used for heat transfer is similar to what is used in heat transfer. So to represent the amount of heat in energy conservation law, in the previous topic it was mentioned that to calculate the amount of heat, we express the amount of heat as a product of rate of heat transfer and the time interval, and and then we have to use a discrete representation, a one-point representation of the rate of heat transfer over the time interval. For that, we use a mathematical definition which is called as time average. So we represent the, so this is the product of time averaged enthalpy flow rate with delta T. This is the time averaged conduction heat transfer rate multiplied with delta T. So when you take the product of conduction heat transfer rate into delta T, it gives you the amount of heat conducted into the control volume. When you take the product of the enthalpy flow rate with delta T, this represents the net amount of advected thermal energy entering into the control volume. Similarly, this is the advected thermal energy and the conducted heat, the amount of conducted heat entering into the, leaving the control volume. This is the leaving and this is the entering. Similarly, when you take the product of the X momentum flow rate with delta T, you get the amount of X momentum entering into the control volume. This is the amount of Y momentum leaving the surface of the control volume. Now, when you take the product of the forces with delta T, it is called with a time interval. The product of force with a time interval is called as impulse. So the product of the viscous force with delta T is called as viscous impulse. The product of pressure force with delta T is called as pressure impulse. So these are the viscous and pressure impulse in the positive x direction. These are the viscous and pressure impulse in the negative x direction. These are the viscous and pressure impulse in the positive y direction. This is the negative y direction. This is the amount of x momentum entering into the control, sorry, y momentum entering into the control volume. This is the amount of y momentum leaving the surface of the control volume. So here in this slide, the two different forms, instantaneous, this is which is a continuous form of the conservation law, and over a time interval form, which is a discrete form of the energy conservation law is presented. For the present topic, we will use the discrete form of the conservation law, which are in the second column here, and we'll consider this in the later slide to for the algebraic formulation. So the present finite volume method, which gives you the algebraic formulation, uses the discrete form of the conservation law, where the statement corresponds to over a time interval, and this mean presents the flux terms as a time averaged value. So let us start with the conservation law. First, the X momentum conservation law, where, as I mentioned in the earlier, this is the X momentum. This is the amount of X momentum which is entering. This is the amount of X momentum which is leaving, which is given by the product of the X momentum flow rate with delta T time interval. And these are the viscous and pressure impulse. So the amount of increase of X momentum stored inside the control volume over the time interval delta T. This delta corresponds to the difference of the X momentum at time T plus delta T and at T. So the amount of increase of X momentum stored inside the control volume plus net amount of advected X momentum. I had mentioned that the product of X momentum flow rate and delta T gives you the amount of advected X momentum. So you take the advected X momentum leaving minus entering. This is the net advected X momentum leaving across the surfaces of the control volume must be equal to the net amount of viscous impulse and pressure impulse. To calculate the net, you consider the viscous forces in the positive x direction minus the viscous forces in the negative x direction. Similarly, this is for the pressure impulse. So this statement is given in a symbolic form using the symbols that was presented in a tabular form in the generalized variable as this expression, where this mean are expressed as a time average representation. Similarly, when we go for Y momentum conservation, here again this generalized symbols that was presented in a tabular form is used here to represent the viscous forces and pressure, viscous impulse and the pressure impulse in the Y direction, which is a product of viscous force and pressure force with delta T time interval, and these are the amount of Y momentum which is entering, and this is the amount of Y momentum which is leaving over the time interval. This is the change in the y momentum stored inside the control volume over the time interval delta t. So the amount of increase of y momentum stored inside the control volume plus net amount of advected y momentum leaving across the surface of the control volume must equal the net amount of viscous impulse and pressure impulse acting in the y direction. This is a mathematical representation of this statement. So in the previous topic on computational heat transfer, we have used only energy conservation law. Although in convection fluid flow is involved, but we have not used mass and momentum conservation law due to the fact that we have considered problem where flow field is prescribed, it is given to us. So here for the first time you are getting introduced to the vector conservation law, and for a 2D Cartesian coordinate system in this slide it is presented separately for x momentum conservation and y momentum conservation. And the statement of this law we are using, which is applicable over a time interval. This is proposed as a discrete form of the conservation law. So after the x and y momentum conservation law, discrete form of the energy conservation law, which was presented earlier in computational heat conduction, is again presented here, where when you to apply a discrete form, you to obtain the amount of heat, you take the product of enthalpy flow rate and conduction heat transfer rate. So the combination of this will give you the convective heat transfer rate. When you take the multiplier with delta T, you get the amount of heat. So the amount of increase of enthalpy stored inside the control volume plus the net amount of advected enthalpy leaving across the surface of the control volume must equal the net amount of conducted thermal energy that enters the control volume. This was presented in the previous topic on computational heat convection. And mathematically it is expressed in this form. In the previous topic, note that instead of AT we had this H, and instead of DT we had Q. So here in this slide, this is presented in using the generic variables. The mass conservation law is presented here for an incompressible flow over a time interval delta T. Note that the lecture series that is presented here corresponds to CFD for incompressible flow, and for incompressible flow, the mass conservation equation, the density disappears from the mass conservation equation. When you compare the CFD for a compressible flow versus an incompressible flow, there is a lot of difference between the two due to the fact that when you consider compressible flow, when you apply the mass conservation law, you get a unsteady term which corresponds to del rho by del T. So the mass conservation law for compressible flow is when you use CFD for compressible flow, the mass conservation law is used to generate a movie or get the results for variation of density with respect to time. So the mass conservation law is used to obtain the density, and the pressure is recovered by using an ideal gas law type of equations, the pressure density relationship. So the momentum equation is used to obtain the velocity, the energy equation is used to obtain the temperature, and the mass conservation law is used to obtain the density in CFD for compressible flow. And pressure is recovered from an constitutive relationship like an ideal gas law. And so this is the CFD for incompressible flow, for compressible flow. Whereas the lecture that is presented here is for CFD for incompressible flow. And in CFD for incompressible flow, the density term disappears in the mass conservation law, and the CFD becomes much more, I would say, more involved in this case, because now if you look into the continuity equation, like for 2D case, you have del u by del x plus del v by del y is equals to 0. We don't have any pressure in continuity equation, but we have to we are left with the mass conservation law to obtain the pressure. this was one of the biggest challenge in the development of CFD for incompressible flow. This issue I had discussed in my previous topic on essentials of fluid dynamics for CFD. So for an incompressible flow, the net amount of mass of fluid leaving across the surface of the control volume must be zero. Note that there is another term, mass storage, which for incompressible flow is zero. So you have only the second rate of change, which is presented here as the net amount of mass, which is given as the product of mass flow rate into the time interval. The mass flow rate is expressed in terms of the time average value. This is the mathematical representation, symbolic representation of the statement. After presenting the generalized variable and the conservation law, we'll start with the physical law and discrete math based linear algebraic formulation, where first we will start with momentum and energy transport and energy conservation law based formulation, and then we'll go into the mass conservation law based formulations. When you talk of momentum and energy conservation, it basically constitute a transport process. So as I mentioned that in the transport process, the transport mechanism, there are two transport mechanisms, advection and diffusion. So they are expressed, their expression is very similar, the expression for advection and diffusion. And that here we are using a generalized variable based representation. So in previous topic on computational heat conduction, instead of here instead of diffusion we had capital Q, and instead of advection we have capital H, which corresponds to enthalpy flow rate. But here, for when we also want to use the conduction as a general variable diffusion and the enthalpy as a general variable advection, so we are using a subscript phi, where if this phi is U, then this becomes viscous force in x direction. If this A is U, then it becomes the x momentum flow rate. So these are the generalized representation of the advection and diffusion flux transport, which are presented here at the various surfaces. I am not showing you the arrows at the various surfaces due to the fact because in x momentum transport, the final sense of the arrow is horizontal and for the arrows that is presented here. And for y momentum equation, all the final sense of arrows for y momentum is vertical, and in energy conservation law, it is normal to the surface. So these are the advection and diffusion on the surface, x plus delta x, this is at x, this is the total advection and diffusion on y, and this is at y plus delta y. And this advections on the various surfaces, they are expressed in terms of advection fluxes and the surface area. So this is total diffusion is expressed in terms of diffusion flux and the surface area, where by using the first approximation, the advection fluxes are represented in terms of 1 point value, which corresponds to the surface average value, which I had presented in previous slide for enthalpy flow rate. Now, so in the previous topic on computational heat convection, instead of A, we had small h, and this capital A was corresponding to the capital H enthalpy flow rate. Now that we are using a general symbol, and along with enthalpy flow rate, we are also using it for x momentum and y momentum flow rate. So this A is representing, as I mentioned, it has a phi, A phi. If phi is U, it's corresponding to x momentum flow rate. If it is V, y momentum flow rate. If it is T, it's enthalpy flow rate. Similarly, here the total diffusion corresponds to the viscous force in x and y direction or conduction transfer rate. Note that here the algebraic formulation, first we are presenting the algebraic formulation, then the approximations will be presented, and those approximations will be used in this algebraic formulation to obtain an approximated algebraic formulation. Then that will finally lead us to the finite volume method based formulation for CFD. So in this slide, conservation law over a time interval is used to derive a physical law based algebraic formulation. So using the conservation law that has been presented earlier and the generalized symbol where the whenever you're using V bar with a phi, if this phi is U, it corresponds to X momentum. If it is V, it corresponds to Y momentum. If it is T, it corresponds to enthalpy, amount of enthalpy. Now this similarly, so we are expressing, we are here, the algebraic formulation is presented in a generic form. If you see this, compare this formulation with the formulation that was presented for the previous topics on computational heat convection, you will see that it is very similar. Here the difference is only that we are making it much more general, and we are using symbols which are generic in nature, and for generality we are using subscript phi, whose value, if it is U, it corresponds to X momentum conservation. If it is V, it corresponds to Y momentum conservation. And if it is T, it corresponds to the enthalpy energy conservation. So this is the total advection. This is the net advection outflux, or net, if it's X momentum, enthalpy flow rate leaving across the surface of the control volume. If phi is V, is the net enthalpy flow rate. Sorry, is the net X momentum flow rate. If phi is U, it's net X momentum flow rate leaving across the surface of the control volume. If phi is V, it is net X momentum flow rate, Y momentum flow rate leaving across the surface of the control volume. If phi is T, it is the net enthalpy flow rate leaving across the surface of the control volume. This is expressed in terms of the product of advection fluxes and the surface area, and the total diffusion is expressed in terms of the diffusion flux and the surface area. Note that in conduction we have used total net influx, but here this point I'll discuss later. When we calculate the net viscous force in the positive X direction, we have to take the fluxes from the positive surfaces and subtract with the negative surfaces. The diffusion flux, when I'll present it for temperature, it will be expressed as minus Q. Because when we write a subroutine, we have to write in a general form. So I'll come back to this later, but I just want to point out that in the previous topic on computational heat convection, for the advection we had net outflux, that is positive surface minus negative surface, but for conduction we had negative surfaces minus positive surfaces, which is not the case when we are generalizing here for diffusion. This is the net pressure force acting in the X direction. This is the net pressure force acting in the Y direction. And this is the total heat gained by volumetric heat generation. And what we represented as a surface average value, it is presented in this form. This I presented in the previous topic also. So we have expressed a physical law based and algebraic formulation. So this is very similar to the previous topic. It's just that we are using a generalized symbol based generic formulation, not only limited to energy conservation law, but now it is applicable for the X momentum and Y momentum conservation law. So you can consider that we are packaging what has been already presented in computational heat convection for the momentum conservation also. So in convection whatever formulation was presented for only energy conservation law, here it is being presented for energy as well as momentum conservation law. And that too, momentum conservation law has two components: X momentum conservation law and Y momentum conservation law. We here, along with the physical law, note that we are using discrete math. When I say discrete math, what I mean is using discrete math over a time interval. When we say we are using a time average, this is the way we are introducing the discrete math. So we are expressing the volume, the flux variable at one time instant at corresponding to the time averaged. And when this flux is entering, acting on a surface, we are expressing this flux as this mass flux, advection flux, diffusion flux. We are expressing at the various surfaces. Note that in 2D there are 4 surfaces: x, x plus delta x, y, y plus delta y. So by using discrete math, although these fluxes are presented mathematically as continuous in space and time, we are representing using discrete math. By discrete math, we are breaking the continuity in time, and in time, if you want to represent at one time instant, we call it as a time average value. And on a surface, if we want to break the continuity in a 2D, we express it in terms of one point which corresponds to a surface average value. So note that here we are using physical law as well as discrete math. By discrete math, we are introducing this time average and space average. So right now, these are this is the exact mathematical definition. But later on, when we want to implement it, we have to use certain approximation in our discrete math that will be presented in the next section. So this net mass flow, that net mass leaving the surface of the control volume, that mass flow rate leaving the surface of the control volume is given by the product of mass flux into surface area. This is at x plus delta x minus x. So this is from the x direction, this is from the y direction. And the summation of these two should be equal to 0 for incompressible. So this is the algebraic formulation presented for momentum and energy conservation, and this is for mass conservation. Now, when you want to implement this formulation, you have to convert the mean and which corresponds to the time average and average at various surfaces which have been represented as average at x plus delta x, average at x, average at y, average at y plus delta y, by one point that was already presented for conduction and advection, for the conduction and the enthalpy flow rate, and here it will be extended for the momentum transfer. So the first approximation for the volumetric term, we replace this average at volume, and the best point to represent the volume average for a volumetric term is taken as the centroid of the volume, and for the surface it is taken at the centroid of the surface, which is represented here by F. And the second approximation was presented in conduction as a central difference scheme. The same expression is being shown here as a general formulation for diffusion flux. In conduction, instead of this gamma phi, which is called as diffusion coefficient, was minus k, and this phi was temperature, and this small d was small q, conduction flux. So we had qx here, qxt, qxw, qyn, qys. Now note that here we are using this also for x and y momentum. So this diffusion flux, this gamma phi is equal to mu for momentum transport, and this phi is equal to u for x momentum, and this d for x momentum leads us to the viscous stresses in the x direction. When this phi is v, then this d will lead us to the viscous stresses in the y direction. So these approximations were already presented in the previous topic on computational heat conduction and computational heat convection, and I am just showing this in a general form to incorporate momentum conservation with the energy conservation. The second approximation for advection is the advection scheme. The expression that is shown here is for a non-uniform grid, where these weights are for an advection scheme. W1 is the weight of the downstream neighbor, W2 is the weight of the upstream neighbor, W3 is the weight of the upstream of upstream neighbor. These weights are constant for when you consider advection in a uniform grid, whereas on a non-uniform grid, this weight are expressed in terms of non-uniform width of the control volume that is presented in the previous topic on computational heat convection. and we are just extending this for the calculation of enthalpy flow rate in the previous topic to the x and y momentum flow rate for this topic. So the definition of this m plus m minus was presented in the previous topic. Finally, I am showing you in a tabular form the various approximation that we have used to give you a consolidated view of the various approximation. Note that in a volumetric term, when we have to calculate the change in momentum with respect to time, we only need the first approximation, where in the first approximation, the average at volume is represented in terms of the value at centroid, this P. And for the mass fluxes, the first approximation is the average at surfaces is represented by the centroid of the surfaces, and mean value, although mean we had three different method, explicit, implicit, and Crank-Nicolson in the previous two topics on computational heat conduction and convection. But note that for mass conservation, we always take it, we have to take it as an implicit. So this mean for mass conservation, we use implicit, and this mean is when we use an approximation, it is expressed in terms of n+1. Now there is a second approximation for mass fluxes, because you have to calculate the mass flux is expressed in terms of the normal velocity, mx is expressed in terms of u, my is expressed in terms of v. Now when you have to calculate these velocities at the surfaces of the control volume, a linear interpolation is used. So this over bar represents a linear interpolation. If it is a uniform grid, u small e will be u capital E plus u capital P divided by 2. Similarly for the other surfaces of the control volume. So, so note that the second approximation for conduction flux was central difference scheme. For enthalpy flux, it was an advection scheme. And the second approximation for mass flux is a linear interpolation for calculating the velocity at the surfaces. You can consider this calculation similar to a central difference scheme, central difference advection scheme. The advection flux, which was presented in the previous topic, we use certain advection schemes, which was presented in previous slides along with the weights. The formulation was presented in detail in the previous lecture, and it is expressed in a generic form here for this topic. The diffusion flux, this was presented in computational heat conduction, and here it is again expressed in a generic form. This is the source term, where for the pressure, note that when we move from computational prescribed flow-based computational heat transfer to a combined computational fluid dynamics and computational heat transfer, you encounter two fluxes additionally. Because the conduction flux we are generalizing as diffusion flux, enthalpy flux we are generalizing as advection flux. But other than this, note that for this topic you encounter two more fluxes. Those are mass fluxes and pressure. The second now when you look into the expression for the mass flux, just to take you along, the diffusion flux is expressed in terms of normal gradient of the flow property. Like conduction flux is expressed in terms of normal gradient of temperature. Enthalpy flux is expressed in terms of the value of temperature. Now the mass flux is expressed in terms of the value of the normal velocity. The pressure is expressed in terms of value of pressure. So if you see the expression for the second approximation, there is only one flux, diffusion flux, which involves normal gradient. All the other flux involves the variable itself at the surface. Like x momentum flux, y momentum flux, and enthalpy flux involves the u velocity, v velocity, and temperature respectively at the surface. Mass flux involves the normal velocity, pressure involves the value. So only the diffusion flux involves the gradient, for which we use a central difference scheme. Now, as far as calculating the value in advection, we use advection scheme. Whereas for mass flux, the velocity that we calculate, the second approximation, and even for pressure, we use a linear interpolation, which is similar to a central difference advection scheme. So for the pressure, the first approximation is very similar to what we use for other, for the mass flux. We express in average at various surfaces by the centroid of the surface, and the mean we express in terms of the implicit value. The mass flux and the pressure are expressed implicitly. We don't use the explicit or Kronecker-Wilkinson scheme. This is the first approximation, and the second approximation for pressure is a linear interpolation. And this is volumetric heat generation. To calculate the average at in a volume, if it is varying, for most of the problem it does not vary, so you may not need to use any approximation if it's a uniform. But if it is varying in space, then you can take the volumetric generation at the centroid of the control. So I started with a physical law and discrete math based algebraic formulation. Then I had gone into approximation. Now, when we substitute those approximation to the algebraic formulation, we here get approximated formulation. Okay, so in the topic 5.3, I had presented algebraic formulation without any approximation. 5.4, I have presented approximation. Now we will combine 5.3 and 5.4, and we will obtain in this section 5.5 approximated linear algebraic formulation. And we'll start with mass conservation law based finite volume method. Then we'll go into the momentum and energy conservation law based finite volume. So for the mass conservation law based finite volume method, this is the control volume, and these are the centroids of the surfaces, east, west, north, and south. And this is the approximate representation of the, to calculate the net mass flow rate on the east surface as a product of mass flux on the east surface, centroid of the east surface, and the surface area. As I mentioned, note that this mass fluxes are always presented implicitly. So the net mass flow rate leaving the surface of the control volume is expressed in a linear algebraic form as this. Now this mass flux is given in terms of the product of density and u velocity. So when you convert this mass flux in terms of the normal velocity, then you need a second approximation because you need to know this normal velocities. And the second approximation, if it's a uniform grid, to calculate UE here, there is another adjoining control volume whose centroid yellow circle is here, capital E. So for a uniform grid, this small e is, if you draw a horizontal line, this small e is exactly in between capital P and capital E. So you calculate UE as U capital E plus U capital P divided by 2. So for a uniform grid, the linear interpolation leads you to this representation of obtaining the normal velocity at the surfaces. If you compare it with the advection scheme, this is similar to a central difference advection scheme. However, the idea that was discussed with an example of ice and fire, that is applicable for the advected velocity, but it is not applicable, that idea is not applicable for this normal velocities. So that's why we don't use any advection scheme for obtaining this. Originally, it was proposed to calculate using linear interpolation, but in the next topic, I will talk that this linear interpolation leads us to a problem which is called as pressure velocity decoupling. So people have come up with a different procedure or different second approximation, I would say. To begin with, I am showing you as linear interpolation, but this leads into numerical difficulty and it leads to unphysical solution. So to begin with, I am presenting it as a linear interpolation, but this is not a feasible solution, which I'll discuss in the next topic. So if you substitute u small e as u capital E plus u capital P divided by 2. This small w as u capital P plus u capital P divided by 2. So when you take the difference, that u capital P cancels down, and your mass conservation equation consists of the u velocity of the alternate yellow circle. You note that between the yellow circle capital E and capital W, there is another yellow circle capital P, which is missing in this algebraic equation for mass conservation equation. So if you use a linear interpolation, you end up with a linear algebraic equation which involves the u and v velocity of the alternate grid point, not the adjacent grid point. And this leads to a problem which is called as pressure velocity decoupling, which I discussed in the next topic on solution methodology for CFD on a standard grid. From the mass conservation, let us go to the momentum and energy conservation. This is presented together as a transport process, and in this transport process we are using generalized variable advection and diffusion for random motion of molecule based transport, and advection as the bulk motion or the mass flow rate driven transport process. So we'll start term by term. Let us start with the first term, that is the unsteady term, rate of change of momentum or enthalpy stored inside the control volume. So using the generalized formulation and using this, instead of phi, as I mentioned, if we use u, so in the first approximation, this is a volume. Vu is actually the exponential per unit volume. Exponential per unit volume is density multiplied by the u velocity. And in the first approximation, this average at volume is, this is the exponential per unit volume at this yellow circle. This is the y momentum per unit volume at this yellow circle. And this is the enthalpy per unit volume at the centroid of the control volume. In the second you don't need a second approximation for the unsteady term. And the formulation that was presented, from that formulation, you can express the rate of change of enthalpy storage over a time interval, rate of change of momentum enthalpy stored inside the control volume by this generalized expression where this Vu is given by these expressions, and this is the rate of change of x momentum stored inside the control volume. An approximated linear algebraic formulation of the unsteady term. This is the approximated linear algebraic formulation for unsteady term of y momentum, where this is the rate of change of y momentum stored inside the control volume. This is the rate of change of enthalpy stored inside the control volume. This is a generic representation. You can write a general subroutine and in that subroutine, when C is equal to 1 and for momentum equation and Cp for the energy equation, and this phi is U for x momentum, V for y momentum, and T for energy equation. So this is the generic symbolic representation of the unsteady term, the discretized form of the unsteady term. Note that as I mentioned, if C is 1, phi is U, you get this expression. If C is 1, phi is V, you get this expression. And if C is Cp, phi is T, you get this expression, where this volume is delta xp into delta yp. So when we write a program, we write, instead of writing this 3 times, it is like, if you know that you can develop a component which can do 3 functionality, you don't develop 3 components, but you develop 1 component and you use it 3 different times. So this is the basic idea that we are using here, because the diffusion component that you have developed in computational conduction, that component, note that here it is packaged in a generic form and it is used 3 times in 2D Cartesian coordinate. It is not only limited to the energy conservation, it is also applicable to momentum conservation, because momentum energy conservation are the part of the transport process where both are driven by the advection and diffusion. So from unsteady, when you go to the advection transport, in the transport process, for momentum, you get a net enthalpy, net momentum flow rate leaving the surface of the control volume. For energy, it's the net enthalpy flow rate leaving across the surface of the control volume. So I'll represent in a generic form together. But before I go that, I would like to introduce enthalpy flux was a vector, but when you talk about the momentum flux, it's a second order tensor. There are two directions of a momentum flux. Momentum flux is expressed as m vector u vector. Note that there is no dot or a cross product between m vector and u vector. So there are two directions associated with momentum flux: the direction of mass flux, which is always normal to a surface, and the direction of the velocity, it could be horizontal or vertical. Note that the arrows that has been shown here, the momentum fluxes that has been shown here. Here mx is in the horizontal direction. U is also the velocity in the horizontal direction. That is the x direction. So both are in the same direction here and here also. And if you look into the other surface, this is the my is in the vertical direction. V is also in the vertical direction. So these arrows you can see have been drawn because are straight arrows due to the fact because both the variables, the mass flux and velocities, are in the same direction. However, you can have situations where they are in orthogonal directions. This is very much analogous to the stresses. What has been shown here is like what was shown in stress as normal stresses. Stress are expressed in terms of two directions, which I'll show you a little later. The direction of the plane and the direction of the stress. So if they are both are same, then you get a normal stress, and if they are orthogonal, you get a shear stress. Analogously here, if the both mass fluxes and velocities are in the same direction, that has been represented by straight arrows, and analogous to shear stress, here when the mass flux and the velocities are in orthogonal direction, which are shown by these pink zigzag arrows, you can see here mx is in the horizontal, v is in the vertical direction, my is in here vertical direction, and u is in the horizontal direction. It is expressed in zigzag arrows. Note that this mass flux is a driver and u velocity is like a passenger in the transport process. If you consider yourself as a passive fluid particle, as a passive particle in a fluid, and let us suppose you are a passive particle in a fluid, you are like a massless particle in a fluid, and let us suppose you as a massless particle are moving in the horizontal direction, and if you are in a river where the stream is in the vertical direction, then the passive neutrally buoyant particle, if you are moving in the horizontal direction, if the stream is in the vertical direction, it basically drags you inside like this. That has been shown here like zigzag arrows. So note that this u velocity is an advected variable, which is driven by this my, and it is expressed by the zigzag arrows. M vector, u vector, as I mentioned, it's a second order tensor. Wherever the second order tensor is represented by a square bracket, and it is in a 2D case, it has a 4 component, where the first column represents the x momentum flux, second column represents the y momentum flux, and to calculate the x momentum flux, any vector law, the second order tensor, note that the flux in a scalar law, that is the mass and energy conservation law, the flux is a vector. In a momentum conservation law, which is a vector law, the flux is a second order tensor. However, although it's a second order tensor, but the fact that you apply the vector conservation law, that is the momentum conservation law, component by component, so when you take its x component, you basically, for taking the x component, the general operation is you take the dot product with I. For one component, you take the dot product with j. So when you take the dot product of the second order tensor with a unit vector, it gets converted, it gets reduced from second order tensor to a first order tensor, which is a vector. And the mathematical operation is such that the dot product is mathematically defined as you take the first column and express it like a vector. So the first column, express it like a vector. What I mean is this: mx, this operation is defined as, you take the first column, mxui plus myuj, and for the dot product with j, to calculate y momentum flux, you take the dot product of the second column, you take the second column and write it like a vector. So this will become mxvi plus myvj as shown. So in the later slide, when I'll apply x momentum conservation, I will use this x momentum flux. And for y momentum conservation, I will use this y momentum flux. For enthalpy flux, I will use mx cpt and my cpt, which will be hx and hy. So these are the, this AT is enthalpy flux, which was presented in previous topic on computational heat convection. And this is the enthalpy flow rate which is entering from left surface. This is the enthalpy flow rate leaving from the right surfaces, where this AT is the enthalpy flow rate, small at is the enthalpy flux. This is hx, this is hy, and the superscript chi is used for advection flux. Previously in enthalpy flux, I have mentioned that you can use either explicit, implicit, or a Craig-Nicholson scheme. So this chi is equals to n for explicit, n plus 1 for implicit, and n plus half for Craig-Nicholson scheme. And this is the net advection which you obtain by taking the product of the fluxes with the surface area. This is the net outflux. The second approximation is the advection scheme, which is for temperature. It is expressed in terms for energy conservation. This AT is enthalpy flux and it is expressed in terms of temperature. For x momentum flux, now note that all the arrows here are horizontal. In the energy conservation, all the final sense of arrow is normal. For x momentum, it is horizontal. And here, this is the x momentum flow rate expressed in terms of x momentum flux. You can see this is the x momentum flux, mxu and myu. Okay, so these are the, in the first approximation, we express the surface average value by the centroid of the surface, time average by this explicit implicit Craig-Nicholson scheme based chi with superscript, and the second approximation is the advection scheme, where this advection scheme is very similar to the formula that you have used in previous topic. Only difference is that you have no Cp for the momentum flux, and instead of temperature, you have u velocity here. Here again, this enthalpy flux is a vector, and the x momentum flux, it becomes a vector when you take the dot product of the second order tensor m vector u vector with I, which was presented in the previous slide. For y momentum, you take the dot product with j to get finally the flux is a vector, and this is representing the y momentum flux mxv and myv. This is the advection scheme, second approximation corresponding to advection scheme. So whatever advection scheme has been presented in the previous topic, first order upwind, second order upwind, central difference, quick scheme, all those will be implemented for this topic. They will basically, those programs are converted into a subroutine and they are used. It's a single component. Now it has three functionalities. It not only calculate the enthalpy fluxes, but it will also calculate x momentum flux and y momentum flux. So instead of building three components for advection, advection fluxes, for advection schemes, we develop one component, one subroutine, and use it 3 times. Note that all the final sense of arrow here is vertical for y momentum. This slide shows you the enthalpy or momentum advection over a time interval, and here I am showing you the first approximation and the second approximation corresponding to advection scheme separately for x momentum, y momentum, and energy conservation law. We started with unsteady, then we went into advection. Now let us go into the, so this is the bulk motion where the mass flow rate is driving the transport process. So from the advection, let us go to the diffusion, which is driven by the random motion of the molecule. This total, if this phi is u, this is the net outflux for x momentum, this is v, then this is for y momentum, in t, it is for energy. Note that these generic symbols we used in a subroutine. And when we call we have a separate subroutine for x momentum, we call this subroutine with phi is equals to u. For y momentum, we call it with phi is equals to v, and for energy, phi is equals to t. So the random motion of the molecule, as I mentioned, that it leads to the conduction in heat transfer, and in fluid mechanics, it leads to the difference in the stickiness between the different fluids. If you consider water and oil, the stickiness is different due to the fact that the random motion of the molecule in the two fluids are different, and that decides the thermophysical property, which is called as dynamic viscosity. In conduction, the random motion of molecule decides the thermal conductivity, which varies in solid based on the random motion of molecule. And their expression, especially for incompressible flow, I have presented in the previous topic on essentials of fluid dynamics for CFD, where for incompressible flow, I had mentioned that the expressions are very similar. Conduction flux is like Qx is minus k dt by dx, and viscous stress in extraction is also expressed as mu del u by del x and mu del u by del y. Similar to momentum flux, this viscous stresses are also second order tensor. These are, if there are two directions associated with stress, the direction of the plane and the direction of the stress, if both are same, they are normal stresses. If they are orthogonal, this corresponds to a shear stress. And as mentioned earlier, similar to momentum flux, these stresses are also a second order tensor. And when we have to apply the x momentum conservation, we take the x component, which is given as this, where you take the first column sigma xxi plus sigma yxj. Note that the second subscript denote the direction of the stress. Okay, so when you apply the x momentum conservation, this sigma xx and sigma yx both are in the horizontal direction is used. And for when you apply y momentum, you take the second column sigma xyi plus sigma yj, where the second subscript is y, which corresponds to the direction of the stress. So for y momentum, you take this sigma yy and sigma xy, this, which is vertical. So for the diffusion transport, note that in conduction, we have taken total influx. We have taken west surface minus east surface, and south surface minus north surface. But what happens in when you talk about the viscous forces, when you have to calculate net viscous force in the positive x direction, and the way the forces act in the positive surface, the viscous forces act in the positive direction. This is for the viscous forces in x direction. This is for viscous forces in the y direction. So you can see that to calculate net viscous forces in the positive x direction and to calculate net viscous forces in the positive y direction, we have to do positive surface minus negative surface. But in conduction, we had to, if we use the formulation which was presented earlier, we have to do negative surface minus positive surface. But if we have to generalize, we have to write one subroutine which is applicable for all. So either we need, there are two possibilities. Either we need to reframe this x momentum and y momentum fluxes, or rather than reframing or changing, what we do is basically we define the diffusion flux of energy as minus q. So when we do that, although here we are writing a positive surface minus negative surface, but the fact that dt is minus q, when you substitute minus q here, so it becomes minus q on east surface, and then minus of minus q on west surface, which will become plus. So finally it will become q on west surface minus q on east surface. So what we are doing is we are expressing the diffusion, total diffusion, as a net outflux of diffusion flux, but we are defining the diffusion flux for energy as minus of q. Okay, so that way we are using a same generalized total diffusion expression in terms of net diffusion outflux, where we have modified the diffusion, said that the diffusion flux for energy is minus q. Okay, so this way, this general expression can be used where instead of u, v, t, we will write a general expression phi in the subroutine. So these are the net first approximation corresponding to these are the viscous forces acting in the positive x direction. Here these are the viscous forces acting in the positive y direction. Note that the second approximation is basically the piecewise linear approximation corresponding to the central difference Q. And since the diffusion flux for energy is minus Q, so instead note that here the second approximation there is no minus K, it is plus Q. Okay, so this is the second approximation, and for momentum equation, the expression is very similar. This so we define a general variable gamma phi, which is K for the energy equation and mu for the x and y momentum equation. Note that all the arrows are horizontal for x momentum, vertical for y momentum, and for energy it is normal to the surface. After completing the unsteady advection and diffusion, if you are left with volumetric heat generation in energy equation and pressure force in the momentum equation. So this is whatever is left is called as a source term, and the finite volume method for source term is presented here. Volumetric heat generation, as I said, mostly it is uniform, but if it is varying in space, you can be approximate by the value at the centroid. So this is the volumetric heat generation. If you multiply the volume, you get the total heat gained by volumetric heat generation, which is presented here for energy. The source term in energy equation is a volumetric term, but the source term in momentum conservation equation involves pressure, which is a flux term, because pressure is force per unit area. And pressure always acts normal to a surface. Pressure is a scalar. However, when it is acting on a surface, it acts normal to the surface and it is compressive in nature. So, to calculate the net pressure force, although pressure force acts normal and compressive, but it's just that for x momentum in this, I'm showing you the arrows in the horizontal direction, and for y momentum, I'm showing you the arrows here in vertical direction. Although it acts in all the four surfaces, but I am showing only those arrows which are needed for x momentum in this, and here I am showing two arrows which are needed in the y momentum. So as I said, pressure is always acts on a surface as compressive. So the arrows here on the are compressive in nature, the pressure force. So to calculate net pressure force, it will be expressed in terms of pressure force in the west minus east, because this is in the positive x direction, this is in the negative x direction. Similarly, this is in the P south is in the positive y direction, this is in the negative x direction. So pressure multiplied by surface area gives you the net pressure force in the x direction, this is in the y direction. The second approximation, as I mentioned, it's a linear interpolation. For uniform grid, this delta xp width of the control volumes are equal, so you get divided by 2, but if it's a non-uniform grid, this is the expression for linear interpolation in terms of the neighboring width of the control volume. So this is the second approximation called a linear interpolation for calculating the pressure on the east, west, and north and south surfaces. So if it's a uniform grid, then this P small e becomes equal to P capital E plus P capital P divided by 2. Okay, so here it's very similar to what we have done in mass conservation law, where the final expression that you are obtaining, I mentioned that when you apply the mass conservation law using linear interpolation, especially for a uniform grid, then in your mass conservation law, you get small u capital E minus u capital W. So you get velocities at alternate grid points, not the adjacent grid point. Similarly, note that here, when you use the linear interpolation, the pressure which is involved, the pressure is involved of west and east surface. That is, to calculate the net pressure force on the control volume corresponding to this yellow circle, it involves the pressure of east neighbor and west neighbor. So here again, the net pressure force is calculated in terms of alternate circles, not adjacent circles. Okay, you have W and E. There is one yellow circle, capital E, which is missing from the expression. Okay, so this linear interpolation for pressure, since it leads to the alternate grid point based pressure, this leads to a pressure velocity decoupling, which I'll discuss in the next topic on solution methodology for CFD on a standard. Similarly, for a uniform grid, P small n is equals to P capital N plus P capital P divided by P small s equals to P capital P plus P capital S divided by 2. And when you take the difference, capital P capital P cancels down, and you get pressure in terms of alternate grid point values, not the adjacent grid point values. So this is a S5P, where phi is equals to U, it gives you this expression. If it is V, it is this, and if it is T, it is this. So I had shown you all the terms for the momentum energy, starting with unsteady, then moving on to advection, diffusion, and finally the source term. So here I'll show you all the terms for x momentum, y momentum, and energy conservation law. So this is the rate of change of x momentum stored inside the control volume in a linear algebraic form. This is the linear algebraic form of the net x momentum flow rate leaving across the surface of the control volume. This is the net viscous force acting on the surface of the control volume. This is the net pressure force acting in the x direction. This is the net viscous force acting in the x direction. So the viscous force and pressure force in the x direction are on the right hand side, and on the left hand side you have two rate of change: the rate of change of x momentum stored inside the control volume, and the second rate of change, the net x momentum flow rate leaving across the surface of the control volume. Note that the final sense of arrows are all horizontal for the x momentum equation. The linear algebraic formulation similarly for y momentum. This is the rate of change of y momentum stored inside the control volume. This is the net y momentum flow rate leaving across the surface of the control volume. These are the two rate of change. On the right hand side you have force, two forces. This is the viscous force in the positive y direction. This is the viscous force. This is the pressure force in the y direction. Note that all the arrows, final sense of arrows, are vertical for the y momentum. And for energy equation, this is what was presented in the previous topic on computational heat convection. The rate of change of enthalpy stored inside the control volume. The rate of net enthalpy flow rate leaving across the surface of the control volume. These are the two rate of change. On the right hand side, you get total heat gained by conduction. And this is the total heat gained by volumetric heat generation. Note that all the arrows are normal to the surface for energy equation. Because the direction of enthalpy flow rate is given by the direction of the mass fluxes, and the direction of conduction heat transfer is given by the direction of conduction fluxes, and the mass fluxes and conduction fluxes are normal to the surface. After presenting you separate slides for advection and then for diffusion, and then separately for x momentum, y momentum, and energy. Here I am showing you all the conservation law based formulation, the unsteady, advection, diffusion, and source term. So this is like a much more wider perspective. This is the last slide for this topic. It's like when you watch something, it's like you are watching a multi-storied building where you can have a much bigger perspective of the formulations. I had shown you earlier this three together, and then this three together. Then I had shown you this three together corresponding to x momentum, this three together corresponding to y momentum, and this three together corresponding to energy equation. Now in this slide I am showing you I'm showing you everything. I'm showing you all the advection, all the diffusion, all the source for x momentum, y momentum, and energy conservation. And so this is a very busy slide, but it gives you a perspective of the complete formulation, the physical law and discrete math based algebraic formulation corresponding to finite volume method. So I'll again highlight that in all the books in CFD, the finite volume method starts with the differential equations, whereas here the motivation is to make the formulation more of physics, less of maths. So, so to present this formulation, very similar to the undergraduate course, you start with a control volume and you derive differential equations. So here, very similar approach is followed. We start from a control volume and we derive the linear algebraic equations, which is the governor equation in CFD. In your undergraduate course, you use continuous math, whereas here for a computational formulation, you have to use a discrete math. So probably I tried to make this as easy as possible. So if you are comfortable with differential formulations for your undergraduate course, you should be equally comfortable with this algebraic formulations. And the bigger motivation is to make this formulation easy enough so that this subject is taught as early as possible in the undergraduate curriculum, so that the students are empowered and enabled to develop their own CFD software. When they are reaching towards the final year, they can do projects and internship in this area, where they can contribute into the developing, because there is more satisfaction in creating something than be a part of the creation. So I wish and hope that you are the creator rather than just be the part of the creation. So with this, I had come to the end of this topic. But before I end, this is the overall formulation which is presented together for the exponential conservation and the one-time conservation and energy conservation. This is the algebraic formulation where this advection, total diffusion are expressed in terms of fluxes, and the pressures are expressed in terms of linear interpolations. You can get more details about this in the companion textbook. You can get the details in chapter. There's a mistake here. This details you can get in chapter 8 of the book on Introduction to Computational Fluid Dynamics, Development Application Analysis. You can download the supplementary material corresponding to the movies, fluid dynamic movies, the computer programs, and colored figures of the book from this website. Thank you for it.